welcome to Innovative Modder FM, the podcast where we dive into the careers of prominent talent within the Machinima community. Today's special guest is none other than Megalodon 302. He is known mainly for his voice talent, voicing characters such as Flynn in Nightmare Films' Running Dead Season 2, and Brutus in Clans of Sanghelios by Polycore Media. He also have an ongoing series on his channel under the banner of the Mega Crew. I'm your host, Camden Crawford, and Mega, welcome to the show, my friend. How have you been?
I've been doing all right, thank you. It's certainly been a lot going on lately and stuff, but yeah, it's been good.
Good. It's nice to have you on a podcast. I know you and I have bounced back and forth between doing podcasts over the years, and the fact that we actually are sitting down and actually doing one is kind of impressive in itself.
Yeah, at long last.
So anyway, I think
it has been a hectic year, so it's understandable that it's taken so long.
The past 2 years have kind of been a little wild, and especially in the Machinima community, just everything, either a lot of projects either coming out from big names like Nightmare Films, as we mentioned, or just it's kind of been dead the past year. Just nothing came out.
Yeah,
it seemed like.
Yeah, but of course it's understandable given the situation that's been just going on the last few years and stuff. But I would say that definitely 2020 was pretty good for voice acting. 2021 not all that much, but I did still do some voicing, and I was able to do a lot of other things, especially with the Mega Crew, which I'll talk about a bit later, obviously. But yeah, it certainly has been a little bit taxing for everyone in their personal lives, and I think in turn that affected the Machinima community in different ways. So it's very understandable.
100%. And where I want to kind of start this whole podcast is I do want to talk about that first role I mentioned, Flynn. I'm kind of curious, how did that part actually come about? How was that? Was it pitched to you? Did you just do a a voice demo sent to him?
So the way that it worked actually was that there was an official... so Nightmare Films actually posted an official casting call that started through YouTube, and that was shared around a bit. So I first saw it that it was basically it was an announcement on his page, and then of course it was a link to a Google document that basically showed all the different characters that were basically available. They wanted to get in some new voices and new talent. So I gave it a go. So I auditioned for Flynn, but I also auditioned for Langdry and other characters and stuff. And there was actually a second character as well that was cut from the final product that I also did get the voice role for. So so they picked me for Flynn because I chose a very unique voice for him, but they also chose me for the other character that unfortunately was cut from the final product. But it was okay because what ended up happening was that it gave Flynn a lot more screen time. So but yeah, I had no idea that I was going to be getting that role at all, because knowing how popular Nightmare Films is and how many, just so many voice actors would just kill to have a part in it and stuff, I did not expect myself to actually have a part in it and stuff. But sure enough, they really liked the take that I did, and so they just picked me for it. Obviously, after I was picked for it, they didn't... the way that it worked was that you didn't get the scripts immediately because they were still in production at the time. But once all the scripts were ready, then basically some of us we did a bit of a table read, and then we basically either chose to record our lines individually, or we did them together as a group. And that's kind of how it came about, really.
Which that doesn't happen a lot in Machinima, there actually being a table read. Most of the time we're just sent scripts and expected to do the best we can with little notes, and so that sounds like that production actually seemed to be a lot more well-rounded around everybody to be able to give their best performances as possible.
Yeah, it was that, as well as the fact that I guess we were able to really organize it well, because of course sometimes with table reads always the problem is that when you're with voice actors from different... excuse me, that was a phone call. So with different with different people around the globe and stuff from different states or just different countries entirely, it's always difficult to set up a table read because of the time zones. But however, with most of us that were involved in the group, we were able to really match up our times well, and so we were just able to get on with it and stuff, which was really great. Of course, we would sometimes have fun during some of the stuff, but yeah, like it was a really great production, and I had such a really great time with everyone. Like everyone in the cast is amazing and stuff. Like just everyone.
Was this your first choice of a character? Like if you had to choose all the ones that you went to, was this the first choice for you?
Oh yeah, 100%. This is one.
What'd you like about this character then? Like what drew you to this actual specific role that Nightmare Films brought out?
I liked. It was sort of an interesting character that they all the characters are pretty interesting based on what they were talking about, but this one kind of drew me in specifically just because he was one of the antagonists of the show. I know, of course, some people who might be listening to this and stuff, I don't want to give any spoilers in case you haven't seen the show yet, but I will say that, of course, Flynn is one of the antagonists of the show, and that's as far as I'll go. But he had a very interesting background in terms of like what his role in the story is and how he connects to some of the characters and such. And I just figured I could just have a really fun voice to put with it, and that's what kind of ended up getting me the role and stuff, was that I chose to do something really unique for the voice in particular and stuff, and they really liked the southern accent that I gave him.
That's awesome, and it really is a great season overall, and so it's definitely worth checking out if anybody listening to this hasn't checked it out yet. But moving on into like my next question here, in my circles personally, I see we have like a little bit of a reputation for you that you're in pretty much everything, it seems like. I mean, let's be honest. You helped me being a struggling director, and you were in Marked, which is probably one of the worst projects ever to grace the screens of Machinima community. But if you remember working that at all,
I do.
What is your motivation behind like taking up so many roles? Like, and is there any roles that you won't take, and there are roles that like you just don't even go anywhere near?
Okay, so I guess
I know there's a lot to unpack there.
It's also just like learning how to put it in words without offending anyone and stuff like that. But I guess to start with, in terms of why I chose to be in so many projects, part of it was kind of luck on particular. Like I started out with the different people and all that were asking and stuff, and basically when some people started to kind of like see some of my work, because I was at the time I was part of different groups like the Machinima Hub, and there was also, before even Discord existed, there were Skype groups, and then there was also different forum pages and stuff that existed. So I was able to like meet a lot of different people through there, but then at a time when I wasn't really going too much places, I just decided to kind of put myself out there a lot more. Either that was doing some of the voice reels, the voice demos that I did a little bit, but also like starting to meet some other creators and stuff, like either whether they were like starting ones or ones that have existed for a while. And so I just like started to like get myself out there, like contact them, see if I can like, if they need any help with anything, just offer anything that they just need and stuff. And so that's kind of how it started, and so that's sort of, it continues even today and all that. Like I sometimes get invited to new servers and stuff, or otherwise I meet other creators that are starting out and then they need help and all that, and of course they've seen some of the work I do, and then basically it's like, oh yeah, could you maybe help me out either with voicing or sometimes just writing ideas and stuff. And so that's what I do to really help them out. I like helping out others and stuff. In terms of like projects that I would not do, I guess it always depends really and stuff. Like I rarely refuse to join a project and stuff unless if I feel that the project is just not thought of that much, because one of the issues that I did have before in the past and stuff, which is also kind of one of the issues when you try joining up with a lot of different people, is that sometimes you join with projects that are never, well, as you mentioned about Marked and stuff like that, projects that never really got off the ground and did not really get to be finished and stuff. But of course, it always depends. It's either because that the person who made it has a lack of motivation, or they got personal stuff going on, they just can't seem to finish it. That's understandable. Like, I totally understand that and stuff. I'm not bothered by it. But then there are just other people that, like, oh, they promise you that you will have this big role and stuff like that, and then they never really deliver on it. So I'm always very cautious whenever there's like a big project that I'm joining a part of and all that. And it's just like, I want to be sure that it's actually, it goes through, that it's not just like a half-assed job or anything like that. And then also the other thing is that if there's a certain script that I'm looking at that just isn't written that well, or the quality of the videos that they're doing and stuff is not that great. Like, obviously I wouldn't want to be part of something that's like very grainy or filmed in such a poor manner, like filmed on someone's phone. It's just like, no, I'm not. Right. I'm not gonna.
But like, as long as there is like a certain quality to it, you like they have a capture card. You mostly will take those projects, and it's actually kind of nice seeing you in all these small projects, just helping other directors just get off the ground and having someone who actually has a quality voice mic. Yeah. And so, I'm just curious if, like, in the future, will you ever be more picky with what you choose and not take those smaller roles, or if you just enjoy it overall and you just continually go and get all these small roles?
I just enjoy it overall and stuff, but obviously, like, the one thing that I will be picky about is just mainly the people that I work with and stuff, because, like, sometimes there are some really amazing people that you meet in this community and stuff, and then other times there haven't been, and I've had my share of people that I've met that are not really all that great and stuff. Like, you like, sometimes you think that they are great, and then all of a sudden it's just kind of not that great. It always depends on either their behaviors, how they act towards others, or how they are in general and stuff. And sometimes you kind of learn that when you meet with some of these people. So that's something I'm always cautious about. So whenever I'm asked to be involved in a new project and stuff, I always kind of want to learn a little bit more about the person before fully dedicating my time towards, like, helping them out in this project, depending on what they want me to do.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Mm-hmm. And out of all the countless roles that you've had over your multi-year career here in the Machinima community, if we want to call it that, what role has been your favorite to play? Like, which role do you, like, enjoy playing the most? And if there was another season or episode of it, you'd, like, jump on that instantly?
Oh, it's so hard to really discuss. There's been so many great roles and stuff that I've done over the years and stuff like that. I mean, probably one of the best ones that I got to really do was for Chronicler's Machinima Brotherhood War, which I'm also a part of the writing portion of that show and stuff. And of course, I got to play as the character I created called Garrett. It was the first time I ever got to really use my main voice, because sometimes throughout my voice acting career, I was never really that comfortable using my voice, unless, of course, I was playing myself. But, like, for another, like, just a character, a normal one, I always, like, I used an accent, or I used a deeper voice and stuff like that. I wasn't really comfortable with my voice, but then that was the one time that that I had a character that I could actually I basically put a lot of emphasis of myself into, and it really worked out. So there's definitely that role, but I would say probably the most game-changing one was Flynn for the Running Dead season 2, because it was the it was the first time that I actually got so much so much attention from and all that, because, like, sure, I'd be recognized by a couple people, like, as you mentioned, stuff that you said, like, oh yeah, I'm in a lot of projects and stuff. But then the thing is that even though people tell me that I'm in a lot of projects, it's not like I get recognized as instantly like other people and all that. Which, I mean, that never really bothered me, to be honest, like not being recognized like other people and all that. But this was a really amazing experience, like even going as far as to getting fan art and some fan mail from just random individuals, either through Discord or even through Xbox Live and stuff. it was awesome. Like, I mean, the fact that I even played a matchmaking game, and then I was messaged by this one guy. I was like, hey, yo, you played Nightmare Films as Machinima, right? And stuff like that. It was a really amazing experience, and I really appreciated all the support. And obviously, I don't really know what the future of the Running Dead franchise will be. I know some things, but I can't really say what they are and all that. But at the same time, of course, Nightmare Films and is having the custom games, which is basically kind of their next big project, the custom games reboot, I should say, which I will be voicing in, and I am allowed to say that. But of course, that project's going to take a little bit longer to get around because he's got personal stuff going on. But also, of course, they want to see if they can maybe try to do it in Infinite once it gets off the ground and such. But yeah, I am looking forward to working with him again and stuff. But if I ever had the chance to play as Flynn again for something majorly, I would totally do it because it was one of my favorite roles of that year.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, like, it's probably your most well-known role of all your roles so far. And you mentioned a little back about your relationship with Chronicler. How did that kind of come to be? I mean, you've made a few projects together now where your names have both been plastered on it. So like, how did that connection like make?
It was actually a few. So the thing is, I actually started out as a fan of him for quite a while, and even was a body actor for one project particular, which was Bike Run 2. So this was like years and years ago. This was like back in 360 days and stuff. But so how I came around to really getting to know him more and really connecting with him was when, for the first time, so of course he was doing another installment of the Spartan Legacy series that he's been doing for a really long time. And so he wanted to do this one series that was going to be on Halo 2 Anniversary at the time that MCC was out. And at the time that MCC was still kind of broken at the time, but he was able to make it work. But for the long time, he always like kept most of the voice acting in a close circle of friends and stuff. But this was the first time that he was starting to kind of like outsource a bit and kind of try to see if he can get in contact with other voice actors that were outside that could maybe help him out and stuff, which was a big change for him. But I think one that really worked out for him in the end and stuff, because that's pretty much how he met a lot of different people and also how he met me in particular. So I auditioned for the role of Commander Harper, which is the character's name. The Machinima was called it's Spartan Legacy, and it's Spartan Generations, which is a Halo 2 Anniversary Machinima. There's 5 parts, and Commander Harper was a mentor character that played in that. He was very impressed by what I did, and we even did a table read together and stuff to do one particular conversation together. But yeah, it was through that basically we kind of met and stuff. And then from then on and stuff, I basically kept helping him with voice acting stuff and all that, and I would speak to him a lot about like, what things I can contribute and stuff. And then of course this eventually, like, I did have a brief role in the Lifebringer series, but then eventually he wanted to do something for Halo 5, as well as also try some, he remade one of his first Machinima series, which was Omega Halo. He made it on the original 360 Halo, but now wanted to do it on MCC Halo 3. And so we did that. And of course he had me play as the main bad guy of that, which was a lot of fun for me to do, because he originally voiced as the villain before, but it as he puts it, his words, not mine, it sucked and stuff. So he basically had me voice the villain, and I really like gave it my all, and he absolutely loved it. And then, of course, from that point, he wanted help, like, trying to figure out, like, a main antagonist to have for his Halo 5 series, which was Brotherhood War, because he had ideas, but the only thing is that he didn't really know how to really make the story more integral to the characters. It's like, you have a faction, but how do you make it really work and make it not, like, again, not something like you've ever really seen before with other Machinimas and stuff? How do you make it more personal? And so that's when I kind of helped him with the writing aspect, inventing certain characters for him, which we did in a collaboration machinima called Judgment, which you can see on his channel and mine. And so it was from there that we just really got much closer through that. Oh, and that, and also Odd Man Out was another project. Odd Man Out season 2 was another project that he had me voice in as well and stuff. But yeah, pretty much just over the years, after collaborating on a lot of projects, we just got closer, and we just did a lot of stuff together. And of course, again, I currently help with some of the writing aspects of the current machinimas that he's been doing for Spartan Legacy and stuff, and still do so, including for the current one that we've been doing a lot of filming for currently, which we hope will be out by this year. I can't really guarantee an exact date yet and stuff, but he's hoping that either by the summer we could have it released, and I'm really looking forward to it.
That's awesome. So I'm about to shift gears a little bit. So we've talked about your voice acting, but you've done a lot of projects also, as like we talked about, you did some stuff with Chronicler, but you've done your own machinimas going all the way back to doing Venom, but from years ago. But another project back in 2016, or I guess I should say the end of 2016, you made a machinima with Italian Films called Forsaken. I remember when this machinima came out, and I was just kind of curious what happened to that series overall, because I mean, Sanctum really seemed like an interesting location to explore. Is it something you would ever want to, or even think about going back to? Or is it dead in the water?
I've always, that's the thing and stuff. Every time I look back on it on my channel and stuff, I always think about it and stuff. It was one of the coolest projects that I ever really came up with, and Italian Films was my major help with that and stuff. And we had such a great cast assembled and all that. By the way, this was before Discord and all that happened and stuff. This was still where we were having Skype groups and stuff. But I had such a great cast assembled. It was a great story in mind. It wasn't fully written out. We had a few scripts done and all that. We had some of the sets already in motion. Some of them were pre-made sets that we just basically edited around a bit. And I knew I had what I envisioned in mind, but due to certain issues that occurred with production, and then also between me and Italian Films, that was affected by another outside source. Let's just, to put it this way, it's a bit of personal drama that I rather not get into. I did discuss about it a little bit in an update video that I made around the time. But essentially, after all that happened, and there was just so much that was just going on behind the scenes and stuff, along with other various elements that were affecting me at the time. I was, of course, at college around that time and all that, so I was heavily focused on that. So as of right now, the project is pretty much in permanent limbo at the moment. As well as the other thing that is kind of the big issue with it is that Halo 5 is just a difficult game to work with. Obviously, with projects like Chronicler's projects and stuff, he has a whole bunch of body actors that are helping him out with that and stuff. But that's the thing, though, is that mostly that's kind of what Halo 5 is doing anymore. You don't really have that much customs and stuff going on. And obviously with Halo Infinite around, there's going to be a big move to that once Forge and customs actually start working for that game and all that. And of course, again, Halo 5 just there's a lot of things that are great for Machinima. I think it's one of the most underrated Machinima engines that we currently have. But at the same time, there's just so many difficult things to work with it, and there's so much things to learn and all that. And even myself, I can totally admit I'm not really that great of a forger. It's not like I can build my own
sets. Have you
sets.
thought about working in Infinite in the future, and maybe reworking the Forsaken script into something in the future? Or do you think that story is kind of in the past and you'd like to kind of work on something new?
To be honest, the thing is that we don't really know much about what Infinite has to offer yet. Well, I know there's obviously there's been a lot of leaks regarding like what Forge is going to look like. I do love what the new Forge world looks like. I do like some of the, well, obviously they had no textures, but some of the Forge pieces that they've been showing. But I know they're going to be a lot of upgrades to multiplayer, so I really want to see everything that we have to work with. Obviously it's going to take a lot of time, and that's kind of one of the issues with Infinite at the moment, is that things are taking a long time. But I just want to see what all the assets are, and what change, what things are we going to have regarding how we customize our characters, what armors, or hell, if they even add playable elites again, which would be something that I really hope they would do. It just all depends on what they offer. But the main thing with Forsaken was that with the story I had in mind, it was purely set in Halo 5, and it was also meant to be set on maps with snow, because that the way that the story was, that takes place on a world that is basically frozen over, essentially. And so I have yet to see that with Infinite at the moment and stuff, because there's not really been much snow maps on there and stuff. So again, I just have to see right now, but at the moment I'm just more interested in just looking at future stuff at the moment and stuff. I've thought back to Forsaken quite a lot, and I still even have some of the old scripts lying around and all that, but it's currently not my main priority at the moment.
So bouncing kind of off of that, like we know, like we'll get into in a little bit about the Mega Crew and a couple other shorts that you've done, but do you ever want to make a prominent Machinima again, like make a more serious series or a more feature length? Is that something that's even an interest to you, or are you more into that just making the shorts and more of a passion into voice acting as of right now?
I've had a lot of ideas for some serious stuff. Like that's the thing with me, is that sometimes, like, if there's either something that has inspired me to come up with an idea, I always think about maybe pursuing it and stuff. The only problem is that I don't want to end up having the same issue like I did with Forsaken, like, because that was the thing, is that I put a lot of chips into one hole, thinking that this was going to go great, but it just didn't pan out the way that I was really hoping. And I just don't want to go through that again right now, not until like I'm for sure that I can pull something off like this and stuff. So that's why is that I am comfortable with the shorts and stuff, although the Mega Crew, I would say, is kind of my sort of main project right now and stuff. But yeah, like in terms of having a more serious series and stuff, I've had ideas for it, and Infinite definitely has inspired some particular story ideas I have, but I'm not totally on board with them just yet, only because I just want to see what Halo Infinite does, what some of the other particular updates for some of the other Halo games are currently and all that, and just see where it goes, essentially. Plus I've also been like doing voicing for a lot of other people currently, as well as helping Chronicler with his content, so that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah. And so we kind of have bounced around the bush about the Mega Crew this whole time, so let's just kind of talk about it.
Yeah.
So at the time of this recording, you have, if I remember correctly, 7 episodes out.
That is correct.
Where was this inspiration behind this series? I know it kind of, you did some bounce off from the Honest Thoughts series when you were talking about Captain Marvel and The Last Jedi. That's basically having those controversial opinions. So
it was those skits that kind of gave me the idea to continue, because of course that's where I first created, of course, myself, Mega, and all that, and then of course where Silent Sean came from. Who's based off a friend of mine that you may or may not know, Sean Ginger Ninja, and all that. And so basically,
Yeah, him and I are close buddies. I know
Yeah.
exactly who you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, so then you know exactly. So yeah, basically the character is entirely based on him, except for the fact that he's completely silent the whole entire time and only speaks through cricket chirping most of the time. But yeah, pretty much he was like, it was like this two, like basically it's just because as you saw the real thoughts and stuff, there was basically a few things with him and me and all that. There was a third one that was supposed to happen, but it didn't really come to fruition. But I did have him appear in the 2020 Christmas special and all that. So, but yeah, essentially it was those little things that pretty much gave me the idea is like, what if we did a whole like mini comedy series, kind of like The Office, where basically it's just a bunch of us machinima creators just doing shit around at HQ and all that. It was an idea I had for a while, and then of course that's what I like basically approached Lazy Bunch with, who I was working with a lot at the time. And of course I had been doing stuff for his machinimas, but also like been doing movie reviews that he used to like really be into on the channel and stuff. And so I just presented them this idea, and so basically the two of us just kind of brought our heads together and just started making it. And we basically made the first 3 episodes together, which was A New Home, The Visitor, and then the Chicken Run review. So those were the first 3 episodes that I actually thought of and all that. Like I made those all in one day and stuff. Like I wrote them. So I wrote all the scripts for the stories and stuff. And then Lazy Bunch helped me with the filming and editing portions and stuff. And of course we also did the body acting, and of course we got together like in terms of who was voicing who. So he of course plays as himself, Dan, his character Dan, and all that. And then of course I play as my character, me, Mega, and then of course Silent Sean is, well, played by nobody and all that. So basically A New Home was just meant to kind of give a brief introduction to like the first 3 main characters. We were planning to always have more. We just didn't know what it was going to be yet at the point. But yeah, and then of course there was the introduction of a variant of Flynn based off The Running Dead and all that. So obviously voiced by me. So I played a more comical version of the character, and that's who was introduced in The Visitor. And then of course we had the Chicken Run review, which was basically a movie review in a machinima format that I kind of got from different inspirations of different movie reviewers, because I wanted to do something that was a little bit different from what other people did. And so basically just invented the skit bit. And so basically a lot of people really liked these first 3 episodes, and we were kind of doing it as a weekly thing. And so we kind of decided to keep on going at it a little bit, which basically led to the idea of having the Suicide Squad review, which was one of my most anticipated movies of 2021. So I really wanted to do one for that. But at the time there was like, so the thing is that I had a really big idea for it. And so the idea was to have this whole skit involving Warner Brothers executives getting their heads blown off. But I didn't think that me or Dan really had that ability to like do kind of editing like that before. So that's why I basically ended up meeting this amazing animator named Legendary Animations, who was able to make that dream happen. And basically the 3 of us got together. It's just like, okay, this is how we're going to do it. So obviously with that, including like all the other stuff that I already did the voicing for and stuff, it was going to take quite a while and all that. Plus, of course, Lazy Bunch was working at the time with some of his own content and stuff. So it's like, it was all about, it was a lot of planning. But in the meantime, in order to kind of hold off people as we were setting up, we did come up with the skit, the Poultry Fallout. But the funny thing was, at the time, Dan was currently moving houses, and he didn't really have access to any of his voicing stuff at the time. So we had to have him excluded in the Poultry Fallout thing, which is basically why we made him sick, essentially. Hence why you hear him just basically throwing up his lungs out, as well as just, well, shitting essentially within that whole skit. So it was basically, and then of course having Flynn and Sean just helping him out. And so basically it was just me, but then that's basically what led to the invention of Peep the Chicken Essentially, he was just a random. I didn't name him at the time of the thing, but then it was kind of like a funny thing that we gave him the name in the Suicide Squad review and stuff. It's just like I figured, like, okay, let's just have the most ridiculous character we can think of and all that, and just go with it. And that's how Peep the chicken was created, because it's like literally we just did a chicken run review and we had a bunch of white elites and stuff like that. What if one of them was alive and actually had intelligence? So that's kind of how he came about. And then of course we had the Suicide Squad review, and everyone fucking loved it. Which I was so happy about. It came out really well. Took quite a long break after that because it was a lot of work for all of us at the time, but I did already start thinking of what other particular things could we do and all that. Obviously what could we do at the next Mega Crew episode. And so obviously, because all of us have been doing a lot of different things, I had a lot of personal stuff going on in my life that was very difficult. A lot of personal things did happen to me that really, it was also the reason why there was no Mega Crew episode for quite a while. Some people already know what it was, but I won't really get into it right now and stuff. But for a while, I just couldn't really do anything at the moment. But then once I was able to get better and just got back up, I basically came up with some of the next skits and stuff. And so the next one, which came to New Faces, that was actually based on something that Dan actually created for his own channel, where basically he made sort of a spin-off of Mega Crew on his own channel, which is basically, it was a debate between 3 other characters that he created based on who made the first Halo Infinite Machinima, which was a true debate that happened. And so basically he was making fun of it. And so basically he introduced Dave, Steve, and George, which were the 3 characters that were introduced in New Faces. So technically they were introduced first by Lazy Bunch on his channel, and then basically I brought them over and stuff. And they're all voiced by him, which is the funniest thing ever and stuff. They're all voiced by him, and I don't know how he does it, but it was absolutely brilliant. So made a whole skit to introduce them as kind of the new main characters of the group. Basically had them brought in and stuff, and so it was hilarious, the result. So New Faces was great. Then the next one that we had, basically, which I also wrote around the same time, which was the debate, again based on the Halo Infinite Machinima debate and all that. But then we included a new character who is essentially going to be the dickhead of the show, which is Rick Richards, or also known as Rick the Dick, who is based off a real life asshole that I do know. So that's kind of where the inspiration came from for that guy and stuff. And so basically we just made him the ugliest fucking thing imaginable. And then I had the great Jake Sutton, who did the voice of Jared Leto Joker for the Suicide Squad review. He came in to basically do Rick Richard, which I basically told him, can you do a Baby Herman voice for this guy, because that's basically how this guy sounds in real life. And he nailed it. It's as soon as I listened to it, it's oh god, yes, and stuff. And so Rick Richards is going to be sort of a staple that will appear in future episodes, where he's basically like the Kenny. He always gets killed in some way every episode. So yeah.
Did that when Dan was voicing all about all those characters by himself, did that ever give you flashbacks of Everworld Online when you voiced 2 people talking to each other? Oh god, yeah. I've done it more than once and stuff like that, but he did it in a way that just made the characters sound so different from each other. It's god damn, it kind of made me think, I wish I could have done better than that before. Because, I tried my best to sound myself different, but at the same time, it's oh, yeah, you can kind of hear the similarities and stuff. But it's just it is a lot of fun. I'm better at it now than I was before. But, yeah, it was a very funny thing to do. Now, before we wrap all this up, I just kind of want to know, are there any projects or roles that you're very excited about coming up that you can speak about? Whether you're in it or there's just machinimas that you've seen trailers for that you're oh, that looks interesting. Is there any of that kind of in the pipeline?
Yes. Obviously I mentioned about Chroniclers, the project. So it's the next chapter of the Spartan Legacy, which is called Hyborian, which takes place after Brotherhood War and Brotherhood War Aftermath. That was something that I voice in, but also have helped with the writing aspect for. So that's going to be coming out this year, we hope, and all that. Right now, filming is still continuing, and we've done a really great job thanks to the support of just so many body actors that were willing to help, and I'm very grateful for that. And so, yeah, so that so far, it's looking like that's going to come out this year, and hopefully we'll have a trailer at some point. But yeah, so that's one of the major things I'm looking forward to. Mega Crew episodes are still gonna happen. It's just taking a while because there's just a lot of stuff going on personal wise, and then also just other things and stuff. But I can confirm that the next episode is underway. Script has already been written, and most of the voice lines have already been done, with the exception of just one person. And then also in terms of the filming aspect for it, we're gonna do it pretty soon. It's just some other stuff that I just need to do, and then hopefully I'll start coming up with ideas for what the next Mega Crew episodes will be. I don't really know any much updates of the custom games reboot at the moment, because I only just know small things and stuff. I already know who my character is. In terms of other projects, there's been some that I've auditioned for, haven't heard back from, and then there's just others that I'm just waiting to hear back on what lines I need to do next. But there is this other project that I recently, well, it was more, not really recently, but one that I got involved in not too long ago, which was actually had its first trailer debut recently. It's an animated series called The Here of Time. Obviously it's a project that is going to be on a budget, and of course there is a link to add money towards the first few episodes and stuff, but I am playing the main villain of that story, and I narrate that trailer actually, and the trailer is out now on Just Productions is the name of the channel and stuff.
Yeah, and I'll post that link down below so people can go and look at it to make sure that.
Yeah, that project I'm really looking forward to, but not only because of course I'm playing another bad guy and stuff, which is kind of fun, but also it's very unique and it looks amazing. I know quite a bit about it for right now and stuff. I can't really say too much more about it, but I just recommend just seeing the trailer, and then if you are willing to help put forward money for it and stuff like that, it's really appreciated. These guys, they're the real deal. They're not scamming anyone or anything like that, so you don't need to worry about that. But yeah, they're a real deal. And they got some, and of course it also includes other Machinima voice actors and voice actresses that you guys might know, so I definitely recommend checking it out. And then as for other projects other than the ones I listed, I haven't really heard that much. Again, it's kind of unknown at this point.
It's early in the year. We haven't really gotten.
Yeah, it's early.
Far in.
It's early in the year, but I mean, there are some projects that I know are coming up, but I can't say anything about them,
Gotcha.
or who they're from. But that's pretty much all I can definitely say about that.
Well, awesome. Well, Mega, this has been a pleasure, and thank you so much for joining me on the Innovative Monitor FM podcast. It was great to just sit around and talk with you for a few minutes.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Awesome. Anyway, what did you guys think of the episode, and who would you like us to interview next? Drop down in the comment section below, and make sure to check out the links in the little description box. We'll have the links to everything we mentioned here today. And we just love to hear your thoughts. Anyway, I'm Camden Crawford, and until next time.